What's up everyone and welcome to Freelancing with Chris of Emery. I'm Chris of Emery and today I will hand out some free character animator puppets along with some information on each puppet and all about how you can get started. You're totally free to use them in your own projects, customize however you want, or perhaps use to follow any of my old character animator tutorials. It's up to you really. Sounds cool? Cool! Let's go! Alright, so as you can see, I'm in the middle of cleaning up my cabin a bit and recently found 3 character animator puppets from old projects and tutorials that do no good just laying around. So I thought, hey, why not throw them out to you guys and see what fun stuff you'll come up with, right? And just to be clear, yes, you are free to do whatever you want with them really. I'll even show you how to do some customizations and make them your own if you want to. But let's get straight into business. If you have followed me for a while, you'll probably recognize this guy, Nugget Boy. Well, he was the main character in an Animator series thing that I had big hopes and dreams for a few years back, and that kind of ran out in the sand for different reasons. Or well, main reasons being garbage plot and project just becoming overwhelmingly big. Well, I got as far as creating some trailer type thing that I intended to use in a fundraiser campaign. I learned a lot and had lots of fun creating it, but it just felt garbage in the end and I scrapped the whole thing. I ended up using the character for my first real tutorial series though, that you might have stumbled across if you've been out searching for character animator tutorials, so it's all good. So in order to start using the Nugget Boy puppet file for character animator, you start by hitting the Emery Nuggetboy free.puppet download link in the description of this video and save it somewhere on your computer. Then you start character animator and make sure to start a new project and save it. So I import the puppet just by double clicking the project space and pick the Emery Nuggetboy free.puppet file. Not much happens in the beginning other than the file showing up in projects. However, if we double click the file, we enter the rig mode where we can see the complete layer structure from the Photoshop file it is based out of. Alright, so it's supposed to be rigged and basically ready to go. You are of course free to do whatever changes you like in here if you want to, but I'm gonna leave it as it is now and add him to a new scene by making sure having the puppet selected and clicking the clapperboard icon in the bottom left corner of the project panel. And there we have him. Alt mouse wheel to zoom out a bit, and if you want to make a bigger canvas that fits him fully, you just deselect the puppet in the timeline and change the scene size a bit. Okay, let's hit reset pose to see how he looks by default. And I mean, he seems to move alright. Head turn working, mouth works, dangles are in place on hair and antenna, and draggers are there to help you move the arms. Cool. The only thing I'd personally fix in the scene is, first of all, I don't like the way he blinks by default when I blink in the camera. I fixed that by selecting Nugget Boy in the timeline. Go to properties to the right and go to the face and drag eyelid strength down to 0. Now the way he blinks is actually a trigger I've created when hitting B. And yes, it's just a one frame blink and it's the kind of style I was going for. You can of course tweak and have your own blink style if you want to. The other thing in a default scene is that the eyes are controlled by my eye movement in the camera. And I simply changed that into being keyboard controlled by, once again, making sure the puppet is selected in timeline, and this time go to the eye gaze parameter in properties. I simply deselect the camera input and select keyboard input instead. Let's put keyboard strength to something like 70 and bam! Eyes are moving to your arrow key input smoothly in all head turns. This puppet have a few triggers activated. We already touched on B for blinks, we have W for worried and A for angry eyebrows. And then of course the coolest of them all, H for helmet, which triggers this helmet on and off sequence with each press. If we look into the puppet and look at the helmet folder, you see that it's created with 7 layers that basically cycle with every hit on the H key. You can like always go into the control panel to see which triggers are activated to the puppet. If you're interested in more of an in-depth breakdown of how stuff works on this puppet, I recommend you to check out my 3-part tutorial series available on my channel. So let's say you want to use this puppet but you want to do some adjustments to the artwork. You're probably not going to call him Nugget Boy and might, for example, want to change his logo. Well, that's easy work. Assuming you have Photoshop installed on your computer, you just select the puppet in the project panel and click this little Photoshop icon down here that automatically starts Photoshop with our character. And from here we can do the changes we want. Just make sure to be in the correct layer while editing. I'm going to change his chest logo so it's in the torso layer under body. I pick a brush and just paint on that layer into something like this. And then I do the same thing on his upper right arm in the right arm folder under body, because we want them to match, right? Beautiful. Control or Command S for save, and as we head back to Character Animator, and our character has a new gorgeous logo. That's how you change your puppet in the original, and you're of course free to do all the changes you want. If you for some reason would want to find the original Photoshop file, it's located in the folder you saved your Character Animator project. CH Media and Gathered Media, and there you have the original PSD file that you can copy, open or work with just as any other PSDs. Alright, so next up is the chicken character, also from my Nugget Boy project, intended as some sort of sidekick to the main character. So if you want to use this character, first hit the Overmery chicken free puppet download link in the description and save somewhere on your computer. I will repeat a few steps from the other puppet from here, but I'm going to do it a little quicker. I start Character Animator and import it into the scene just like before. Let's click the clapperboard icon to see how it looks in a new scene. So again, if your puppet doesn't fit the scene, you might want to make the scene bigger just by clicking outside of the character in the timeline and change the width a little bit until it fits. Okay, I hit set rest pose. And as you can see, I got physics applied to some of the feathers here, as well as on the comb and waddle things here. Draggers are applied to the wings, and so far so good. But just as before, there's some things I'd like to change from the get-go, and you might want to do it as well. First off, I want to control the eyes of all my puppets via keyboard input, so I make sure to have my puppet selected in the timeline and under eye gaze, deselect camera input and select keyboard input instead. Now it's controlled with the arrow keys. Also, if we check the controls to see triggers, we again have W for worried eyebrows and A for angry eyebrows. And just like on Nugget Boy, B for blinks. And if you just like me like to control blinks via triggers instead of camera movements, you go back into the scene properties and in the face parameter, drag the eyelid strength all the way down to 0. Now the blinks are just controlled by the B key. And that's basically it on the chicken character. It's a little bit more basic than the Nugget Boy character without a mouth or really cool triggers, but you could probably make something badass out of it with some own add-ons or just using it as it is. And if you want to do your own art customizations, again, you just select the puppet in project and hit edit original, just like we did on the first puppet. If you fast forwarded here just to get the chicken puppet but want more info on how to change the art, I suggest you go back or hit the timecode link pinned in the comments. So on to the last free puppet in this giveaway. Of course talking about my dear friend Mikey, and if you've seen my second episode where I draw and rig him from scratch, you've probably also seen his tragic entry into the series. Anyways, let's get straight to Oh shit, Mikey, no. Oops. Anyways, download the Ovemery Mikey free puppet file in the description below and save it somewhere on your computer. Create a new project and save it somewhere. Double click the file or just import it into your project panel by double clicking the empty space and locating the file and hit import. And with the puppet selected, let's hit the clapperboard icon to see how it looks in the scene by default. Set rest pose, and as you can see, some of these parts got physics applied. Arms got draggers, and by the way, if you want them to go back to initial pose, just go into dragger under properties and select return to rest after move. And perhaps set it to 1 second, like that. Eyes are crazy as usual, so I changed eye gaze to keyboard input instead of camera and decreased the keyboard strength to around 60. You probably got this by now, but I also usually go down to face and change the eyelid strength down to 0 in order to blink using the B trigger. And that's basically it on Mikey. It's a very straightforward puppet with room for creativity if you want to change stuff. And just like before, if you want to change the artwork, you just select the Mikey puppet and click Edit Original, or locate your project folder and head into CH Media and Gathered Media, where you can locate the PSD file, if you saved the project, that is. And that's it, people. I hope you'll find these useful in your projects or whatever you're gonna have them for. Don't hesitate to throw me a link if you create something fun. Follow me on Instagram at Chris Ovemery to see what I'm currently up to, and see you next time. Bye!